Well, here we are again. So it's been a little while since I've done a thing of the name video. I went out, traveled cross country, took my travel trailer out to Santa Fe and Moab and came back again, and then got hammered by a couple of weeks of allergies, and then got kicked in the nuts by Susan W. And so I just haven't been able to do the thing of the name videos for a while. We'll see. We'll see how many of these I do going into the future. If you follow my main channel, Susan W. kicked me squarely in the nuts. Kicked me squarely in the nuts. So we'll see how all this goes. But anyways, what I want to talk today about was Carlos Maza versus Steven Crowder, and why this is important for content creators. Because there's a lot more going on with this than the normal freedom of speech or whatever brouhaha. So whenever you hear about things like Carlos Maza versus Steven Crowder, there gets into the arguments of freedom of speech, and there gets into the arguments of abuse and bullying, and these are the same arguments people have been having for about 10 years. But I think there are more significant things going on here, and that's what I want to talk about today. So if you don't know the whole issue with Carlos Maza versus Steven Crowder, so Carlos Maza works for Vox, not Vice. I always get these confused. Vox Media. Vox Media puts out a lot of different things. Vox Media owns The Verge. Vox Media owns Recode. It's kind of interesting how many new media companies Vox Media owns. But then they also have a Vox Media YouTube channel. And so on this YouTube channel, Carlos Maza does a series called Strike Through. And now I have to say, I've seen a lot of the Strike Through videos. I would say most of the strike through videos. Honestly, to be clear on all this, they're the only videos on Vox that I actually enjoy and watch. So just to be clear, if I have a bias, it would be towards that. But basically, this guy Carlos Maza, he comes out at everything from a very, I don't want to say liberal. I don't know, whatever this. The resist. Can we say they resist? Whatever the resist bias is. I don't even say it's liberal anymore. Again, when we talk about the thing of the name, let me tell you, 20 years ago, left wing, right wing, liberal, conservative, I understood what those words meant 20 years ago. How is it I'm getting older and I'm more confused about these words? So I don't want to say left wing or progressive or anything else. Let's just say very resist bias. But he does reasonably good videos. They're well put together, reasonably well researched, the whole 9 yards. And then you have a commentary channel. This guy, Steven Crowder. So Steven Crowder has about 3.5 million subscribers. And to be clear, not a person that I particularly watched any of the videos. The only videos of his that I've watched have been since Carlos Maza and his whole thing blew up. But I have to say, watching his videos, I don't find them horrible or anything else. They're just not my cup of tea. Again, it's the whole commentary community, whether it's Steven Crowder or Secular Talk or Sargon of Akkad. They should do what they're doing, or they can do what they're doing, or whatever else. It's just not particularly my cup of tea. Well, one of the interesting things that happened, so it was last week or a little bit before that, is Carlos Maza got onto Twitter and put out a whole tweet storm talking about how he was being bullied and harassed because, and this is a kind of curious thing, it's not, is it from Steven Crowder or because of Steven Crowder, right? So the idea is that that Carlos does these strike-through videos, and then Steven Crowder rebuts them. So that's a big thing in the commentary community, is rebutting whatever the hell anybody else says. But not only does he rebut him, but he also uses the same types of language that Carlos Maza uses towards himself. But it gets in that whole N-word thing. A black person can call themselves the N-word, but if I call a black person the N-word, all hell's going to break loose. And so that's where it gets into a bit of a curious thing with, because basically Carlos Maza, like literally his Twitter handle is gay wonk. And so, with LGBTQ, lesbian, bi, gay, trans, and queer queer is part of the whole LGBTQ. That's part of it, right? And so Steven Crowder has referred to Carlos Maza as was a lispy little queer and that kind of thing. But basically, one of his points, and that's again, it's one of those interesting things with the commentary community. One of the big things with the commentary community is to push back against identity politics. That's a thing, right? So, you can say things in different ways, but if you take on a word, if you say you're something in identity, what the commentators do is they push back. They take that type of thing. And so he's used that type of terminology. And so one of the issues with Carlos Maza, he says these kind of words is bullying. Calling him a lesbian queer is bullying. And what Steven Crowder says is, well, you're part of the LGBTQ community. Q in that is queer. You are a lesbian. Therefore, if I call you a lesbian queer, it's kind of like calling you a lesbian man. You're a man, right? Theoretically, who knows? I'm not really sure what you're allowed to say about anybody more. So again, if somebody said, Eli, I have a lisp, right? That lispy white guy. And that's kind of like what Steven Crowder is trying to say with this, right? If somebody called me a lispy white guy, would that be bullying? Would that be bullying? Again, I wouldn't think about it at all. I mean, might be an a-hole. He definitely might be an a-hole. Might block you from my channel or whatever. But it wouldn't be bullying. It's just kind of a-hole, right? Yes, I have a lisp, right? What the hell? What are you going for there? And so basically the idea Steven Crowder tries to push back is, well, if you're part of the LGBTQ community and Q is part of that whole thing, then calling you a lispy queer is no different than me getting to be called a lispy white guy. Carlos Maza says that these are bullying words. These are bullying words, and not only that he's been doxxed, and he has people texting him to say, debate Crowder. So again, this is another big thing with the commentary world. I don't understand it. This whole idea of debate. You have to debate everybody. Again, is it idiotic? Is it ridiculous? Yes. Is it how it is? Yes. So Carlos Maza basically does this whole tweet storm and gets on YouTube's radar. Hey, that's nice. That's nice. Maybe if I did a tweet storm. As I have to say, I have a problem with YouTube right now. I have a major problem with YouTube right now, and my partner manager will not even email me back. To be clear, my partner manager will not even email me back, and I have been blocked from doing live streams. But anyways, that's its own story, right? So Carlos Maza does this whole tweet stream saying that he's bullying and basically that Steven Crowder should be taken off of YouTube. YouTube says, we have heard you. YouTube responds, we have heard you. And then they go through and they do a review of Steven Crowder's channel. And then they come back and they say, what Steven Crowder says may be hurtful, but it's not bullying. So I think this is interesting. Now, this is one of those things, we can have a lot of arguments about whether or not this should be, right? We can have arguments about whether YouTube's terms of service are too harsh or too soft. We can have an argument about whether YouTube should see what Steven Crowder has to say as bullying. We can have a lot of those arguments. But the fact is, what's written in stone is that YouTube on high has come back and stated that Steven Crowder has not violated those rules. And so you think that would be the end of the story. You think that would be it. I mean, again, if you dislike it, I'm not saying you should like it. I'm definitely not saying anybody should like it. You can hate it all you want. But YouTube on high has come back and stated he's not violated any rules. Well, then Carlos Maza keeps going on, keeps screaming, keeps yelling. That's his right. That's his right. But then this is where it gets weird. This is where it gets truly weird, is then Steven Crowder, they go back and they took a look at Steven Crowder, who they've already said has not violated their rules, and said, well, it's like he's brought shame or disgrace or whatever to YouTube. So even though he hasn't violated any rules, they were killing his monetization. So in YouTube, it's kind of curious with YouTube, and this is one of those things, one of those legalistic things that gets lost in the details, is that YouTube is actually separate from their monetization component. So basically, the monetization component is a component of something called AdSense. So again, in a software software as a service world, an infrastructure as a service world, right? We have all these different services, and all these different services come together to form the one product that they're using. So when you use YouTube and you see the monetization and all that, you think of that as one monolithic product, but it's not. It's actually two products, and there's probably actually a hell of a lot more products, but let's just say there's two. There's YouTube, and then there's a YouTube monetization that is basically just a cleave off of AdSense. And so what they said is he's not violated any YouTube rules, so he can continue to keep posting and continue to get comments and continue to do all that. But since he's brought shame to the site, we are canceling his monetization component, that is AdSense. So now we have the situation where Steven Crowder, per YouTube, has not violated YouTube's rules, but is getting punished anyway. And this is what creates a major problem for the YouTube platform and the YouTube community, because now at this point, none of us know what the hell to do, right? Because the problem is, like with YouTube, YouTube's rules are opaque and stupid enough, right? Again, it's hard to even argue about YouTube's rules because they're so opaque, and there's so many layers, and there's so many different things going on. And YouTube actually tries to do that. And this is one of the things I talk about. My first partner manager, way back when, a number of years ago, back in 2016, I had a partner manager. And so I was trying to follow the rules. I was trying to follow the rules as far as sponsorships go. And so I had my partner manager on a Google Hangout, and we're going through and we're talking about all the rules for sponsorships, because it's very important with sponsorships that, you can't have any ad that's within your video that looks like something that YouTube does. So you can't have a lower third ad. You're not supposed to be able to have a lower third ad in any YouTube videos, because that looks like the little pop-up ads that YouTube provides, right? There's all these rules as far as ads are concerned. And so when I had sponsors, because I had sponsors, I made a lot of money off of sponsors back in the day, and it was like, but I don't want to violating the rules. I want to be a good boy. I want to be a good boy. I genuinely don't want to violate any rules, right? I'm in this to make money, not to screw around, not to fight the man. And so I'm talking to my partner manager, and he has a spreadsheet. He literally has a spreadsheet. He literally has a spreadsheet of the rules as far as all the sponsorships and stuff go. And so we're sitting there talking, and then, after a couple minutes, I was like, hey, we're going back and forth. You've got a spreadsheet. You're literally basically just telling me the spreadsheet. So why don't you email me the spreadsheet? And then we can just be done with this conversation, and I'll contact you if I have any questions, right? Doesn't that seem like that would make sense? If you have two people in a business relationship and there's a set of rules, don't you think it would make sense to email the other party the spreadsheet of the rules, and then if the other party has any questions, to email back and forth, right? Again, if you have 50 rules, most of them are going to be pretty simple, and then 4 or 5 are probably going to be a little confusing. So let's talk about the 4 or 5 that are confusing, and the other ones, I can just put it on my wall, right? I can tape the rules on my wall. When I get done with the video, I can go, yep. Oh, that might be wrong. Let me cut that out of the video. Literally, he said, I can't do that. So my partner manager has a spreadsheet of the rules, says, I can't do that, Eli. It's like, what do you mean you can't do that? Well, I'm not allowed to send you this the spreadsheet. I was like, why? Well, we're a big company, Eli. It's like, yeah, but we're business partners in this particular thing, and you've got the rules, and the rules affect me, so just email me the spreadsheet. Oh no, Eli, we've got lawyers, Eli. Literally, I always love it. One of those Kodak moments, really, I wish I could have videotaped it. That was his quote. Eli, you have to understand, we've got lawyers. It's like, yeah, I know you have. I'm getting that point. So the important thing to understand here is YouTube has spreadsheets of rules that they literally refuse to send to content creators because, to quote, they have lawyers. Let me explain that to you. What that really means is their lawyers have stated the foggier, more opaque, more confusing that YouTube presents the rules that we agree to, well, then the ever harder it is for us to make sure that we're on the right side of it. Again, you make it opaque, you make it cloudy, you make it foggy so people don't understand, and then people are always violating some rule because they may not even realize it. And then you can just get rid of them. So YouTube is always in the right? So these rules are cloudy and opaque and all that to begin with. Again, literally per YouTube's lawyers, apparently. And so we're always trying to dance around and figure out what we're supposed to do. And so within that, we now find out that even if you follow these opaque rules and YouTube says, yep, you get a gold star, you are fine, you can still get punished. Then what you have to look at too, like what I looked at with Crowder, so I watched a number of his videos. And then one of the curious things is, again, with the recommendation engine, going to the next, is one of the videos that came up. I actually did not know this. I did not realize this while I was listening to the video. I thought this was a video about what's currently going on. But actually what got queued up was one of videos that Steven Crowder did against one of these strike-throughs. So one of these original videos that created the insanity with Carlos Maza, that got queued up and that was playing. And I was just listening to it because I was thinking it was some argument. But it was the strike-through thing. And what I have to say, actually listening to that full video, here's the thing. Compared to so much of YouTube, it was incredibly tame. Now, what you want to say about the YouTube environment, you can say whatever you want about the YouTube environment. But what I want to tell you, as a content creator that's been doing content on YouTube since 2009, right? The content that Steven Crowder did, those attacks, that bullying against Carlos Maza, within the YouTube world, the words and the language that many people on YouTube, many very successful people on YouTube use, how he said the word. Again, you can take words and then you can cut the words out and you can cut the context and you can cut how people say it. And it sounds very horrible. But when you put it into context, if you put it how he says it, again, it comes off very, 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 very tame as far as the YouTube community is concerned. I was surprised. I was thinking that there was going to be something that would be a lot worse. And in fact, it's very tame. And so if you look at it from a content creator's perspective, YouTube purposefully obscures the rules so that we're always violating the rules. We go out there and we look at this creator that's been told he's following the rule. And again, compared to many other people, so many other people on YouTube, he is incredibly tame. It is said, YouTube says that he hasn't violated the rules, and yet he still gets punished. And so you have to think about that as a content creator. Again, take Carlos Maza out of it, take Steven Crowder out of it, take left wing, take right wing, take Antifa, take what are the fascists, take all that out of it. Think about this as a content creator. YouTube literally makes it so I can't understand the rules. Even when I follow the rules, I can be punished. And the person that's being punished, frankly, seems really freaking tame as far as this platform is concerned. And how does that make you feel as a content creator? I think about this with myself. Again, my main channel. For some reason, a lot of people here don't seem to understand I have a main channel. My main channel has 940,000 subscribers. And so again, to bring this home to me, again, with rules and what do rules mean and what, right? So I just had an issue. I had an issue with doing one of my live streams. So I had an issue with one of my live streams where I used copyrighted content, but I didn't think it would be an issue. I was doing The important thing to understand for me, though, and again, when I look at Steven Crowder being punished for not violating the rules. So I use copyrighted content. Again, as a 10-year person on YouTube with 940,000 subscribers and all that and making money on that channel, I don't know. It was a brain fart. I honestly didn't think there would be any major issue. I didn't think there would be any issue at all. Didn't think there would be a major issue. I don't know. Maybe it was a brain fart. But the important thing to understand with this is that I did not get a copyright strike. No, so I used copyrighted content, but I didn't get a copyright strike. Didn't get a community strike. I got a content ID claim. Now you sit there and you're like, oh, Eli, you're trying to compare your copyright ID claim against what's happening to Steven Crowder. Oh, no. But think about this, right? So content ID claim is supposed to mean nothing. Again, if you go through and you look at as much paperwork as I've ever read, content ID claims aren't supposed to be anything. Again, a community strike basically gets your channel locked down for 7 days the first time. It increases, you get 3, you get kicked off of YouTube, right? So we know that. A copyright strike gets you 90 days of all these restrictions. Again, you do it 3 times, you get kicked off off of YouTube. Content ID claims, as far as I've ever understood, is kind of one of these. It's kind of YouTube trying to fudge things. Kind of YouTube saying to all parties, look, this is a messy system. Can we just kiss and make up? So a content ID claim is supposed to be if somebody uses copyrighted content. There's this automated system that goes through, sees the copyrighted content. So basically, YouTube can go to the person who owns the copyright and say, hey, look, we found this automatically. You tell us what you want us to do. Do you want to take the monetization? Do you want to block it? Whatever else. Hey, look, let's just settle this. Let's just settle this like gentlemen and not have any big deals. And again, YouTube can also go to the person who created the video and go, look. We're not giving you a strike. We're not giving you a major punishment. Look, this came up. This got flagged. Do you really want to fight it? Is it, is this $10? Is this $20 really worth it? Now, if it is, you can go to the mat. You can fight this. I'm just saying, again, can we all just kind of do a little handshake and, right? No, but nobody has to go to court over this. That's what content ID is basically supposed to do. It's a fudge. It's gentleman's agreement. Oh, let's not, right? That's all I've ever understood it to be. And so again, that's with, when you hear people say, oh, a content ID claim doesn't mean anything. That's what we all think. But the thing is, I got this content ID claim, and apparently it has a worldwide block. So they didn't want my money, didn't want my ad revenue, didn't want anything else. They wanted to do a worldwide block. And so apparently, if you get a content ID claim with a worldwide block, your YouTube live streaming privileges are revoked. Now the question comes, how long are they revoked for? I don't know. Community strike would be 7 days. Copyright strike, it would be 90 days. Content ID claim with a flag of worldwide block, they did not bother to write the documentation to explain the full ramifications of this issue. And so with me, if you go to my main channel, again, that's the main thing that I've been doing there for a long time, is I do the live streams. Since 2012, I've done live streams. I've been enjoying doing live streams. It's been like a fun thing. I've been doing these Arduino projects, and so that's what I've been doing. Like that, and that's where I was getting excited again. I was like, oh, okay, I can do these little Arduino projects on the live streams. This will be fun. In the blink of an eye, I've had that channel for 10 years. I've had that channel for a couple months under 10 years. September 2009, I created that channel. I have no community strike, never had a community strike, never had a copyright strike. Content ID claims. I had one content ID claim in 2013. That's my last content ID claim. And then I just get this one. I get my live stream privileges taken away. Boop. And I have no idea what's going on next. And my partner manager will not even email me back. And so think about this situation from a content creator's perspective when you start to realize this is just how unprofessional YouTube is operating. You can be told you're not violating the rules and be punished. You can be punished and they don't bother to document what the hell the punishment is. Basically, you have no idea what's going to happen. They talk about with the Vox adpocalypse. Apparently something like 1,000 channels got hit. And you don't know what to do. Again, with a lot of these creators, one creator looks at another creator to see what to do. So if you have one creator that's really successful, you think, oh, I can do that and I'll be successful too. Well, no. At any time, YouTube can kill that channel and kill your channel and do whatever damage they want. And you have no idea what environment you're operating in. So this is the real issue with the whole thing with Carlos Maza and Steven Crowder. If they had gone in and again they had basically said, you can't use the word queer. Again, we can argue. We can argue about whether or not a heterosexual white guy should be able to use the word queer. That is an argument. I'm not going to get in the middle of that argument. That's an argument, I suppose, that can be had. But that isn't. He hasn't violated the rules, but he got punished. This isn't really about Carlos Maza. This really isn't about Steven Crowder. This is the fact that basically YouTube has no backbone as a platform, does everything willy-nilly, and then expects content creators to just keep doing what they're doing. Again, how does this not end with hashtag MySpace Walking? I've been talking about hashtag MySpace Walking since 2016. And that's where I say, because these platforms they need people to create content. They need people to believe, to have faith in the platforms. And how can you possibly have faith in a platform when you will specifically get punished for not breaking the rules? And then what happens? So anyways, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on Crowder and Maza. It is interesting to see the backlash, though, the backlash against Maza. And I think the backlash against the whole LGBTQ movement. And I think that's one thing I would be cautious about is there's so many of these things being pushed now, so many narratives being pushed. I do wonder what the backlash for these communities will end up being, right? When you start to have people be more and more affected by doing things where they don't think that they're breaking the rules. I wonder how that will work out at the end of the day. But I don't know. Something to ponder. So anyways, that's my thought. That's my little thing for the thing of the name. Again, what is the real problem here? That's what I want you to be thinking about. When you think through problems and you think about what's really going on. Again, with Maza and Crowder, is this really about LGBTQ? Is this really about identity politics? Is this really about X, Y, or Z? Or is this about we are now in a world where our forms of communication are being dictated by companies where there's no legal reciprocity, right? Legal reciprocity is the idea, again, with contract law. If I have somebody that comes and builds something for my house, I have a contract with them. That contract protects both sides, right? If I don't pay them, they can sue me. If they screw up building, I can sue them. There's legal reciprocity there. But we're now living in this world where we have platforms where there is no reciprocity. They design these things from the beginning and going forward that they are 100% protected and everybody else just has to bugger off. And I think that's where we get to. That is the real problem. And again, when you look at this, where they say the LGBTQ community isn't happy and the commentary community isn't happy, the reason is because YouTube really hasn't done anything. They haven't changed their rules. So basically people can keep saying, let's be queer all they want. So that pisses off the LGBTQ community. But then the commentary community, they just demonetize Crowder and a whole crap ton of other people. So that pisses them off. And you just sit there with, what are the rules? So there you go. Something to think about. If you want to see my Arduino videos, go to elithecomputerguy.com. If you want to see my other rambly real world series, you can go to failednormal.com. And with that, I will see you folks later. We'll see how long YouTube lasts.